It's another episode of The Weekender here on CNBC TV18, and while you binge OTT content on the weekend, we come to the office of Netflix to talk about their content strategy, their plans for India. We have with us the India content head, Monika Shergill. Let's go. Hey Monika, how are you?
Oh, hi.
Did I catch you at a busy moment?
No, not at all. I was waiting for you.
How does one get a job where one gets to watch a lot of content and get paid for that?
Actually, we get to read a lot, and the journey of creation of something before it comes to the audience, I think that's the journey that we really enjoy. It's a long 2.5 year journey for every title that you see. So watch comes at the very end.
Post-pandemic, when people are going back to theaters, etc., there's been a definition of the kind of content that there is, whether it's movies or series, etc. This is OTT content and this is the large screen content. I mean, is there a definition of content that way? What's the new normal post-COVID?
I would say that, great stories well told will work in any format and any medium. I think this is more perhaps a consideration for creators who create content for a specific medium. We have to be home for the best stories, the widest set of choice for our audience, and allow the flexibility to watch on any device.
How many subscribers would Netflix in India roughly have? About 5.5 million?
I don't think we sort of, talk about the subscriber numbers, but I can tell you that we are way more than that.
So in the pecking order, where does Netflix stand in terms of number of subscribers?
We hold 1/3 of the SVOD market share, which makes us very clear sort of winners on entertainment content. We are, if you look at App Annie data, which is a third-party data, we have 50% more engagement than any other competitor.
Right.
And if you look at the last, I think few months of, again, App Annie data, we've had 150% increase in our app installs, which is multiple times more than any other service.
The reason why I asked this question is just a couple of quarters ago, we had that comment from Reed Hastings saying that it's frustrating why there hasn't been the kind of fire that he expected in the Indian market or the Indian audience. Where did that come from, according to you?
Yeah, actually, the comment got misinterpreted a lot. He did not say that he's frustrated. What he actually said was that it frustrates us that we have not been as successful in India, but we are leaning in there. What he was trying to talk to was the complexity of the Indian market. Where you see the opportunity size because of the population size, but you also have to realize that India is a very complex market. There are many free options available as we speak. There are 50+ OTT platforms. Right. You yourself said many of them are free. There is so much premium content available in front of the paywall. So for Netflix to actually be a service that is catering to such a large set of audience and growing at the momentum at which we are growing. India
is also a value-sensitive, price-sensitive sort of market.
Yes.
Netflix would be 2x its, at least 2x its nearest competitor. Is that one of the reasons why maybe it is slower than what the original anticipation was in terms of subscribers when you compare it to the population that we have?
I think we are not in the race to just add subscriber numbers by discounting the prices. We are a pure play entertainment service.
There has been some conversation about Netflix advertising as well, right? They probably look at advertising as a form of revenue. Is that a possibility in India?
See, we've announced a global ad offering, and I think it will be rolled out in a phased manner. It's a great way to get a larger set of people also to join in an optional way.
How does one stop people from sharing passwords? I mean, what's the mechanism there?
When you have sharing between households, then you have a problem of not being able to invest as much in creating great TV and films. Right. And I think that is what we are working on, of finding ways where people can still share easily and securely, but by paying a little extra. So what we are attempting to do is to just make that sharing more legitimate by getting subscribers to pay more for sharing if they want to share.
What are your thoughts on regional language content in India, Hindi, English, and non-English international languages? I mean, how do the viewership patterns for that stack up in India?
I think what happened during COVID is that a lot of people did a lot of experimentation on Netflix. So they were consuming content across multiple languages. I mean, we were always subbing and dubbing in more than 30 languages. I don't think that, you can go back to a pre-pandemic world where, the audience exposure was very limited. I think the audience has become discerning. They want to try new things. Language is a very, very big sort of value, South content has become very big also. So yeah, it's very interesting times.
I do see a lot of posters around here as
Yes.
well about all your successful shows, etc. Such a creative space this is.
Yes, it is. Actually, it's a fun space and creators feel the same when they come here.
Let's see more of it then.
Sure, absolutely. Let me take you around.
Are subscribers coming in India? I mean, what's the pace of addition been for you guys?
We reconfigured our prices last December. We had a massive content slate coming out at that time, which was talking to a very broad audience. So we have been growing month on month. It's been an amazing momentum that we've had. In fact, we are one of the fastest growing markets within APAC. And we are one of the most robust contributors of subscribers to the global Netflix number.
That's interesting because I remember the mobile plan that came was a world first for Netflix, and now globally as well, they're taking this example from India and implementing it there. But let's talk about content then, because I wanted to understand, what goes behind as a thought process when it comes to selecting content. How much of that is gut? How much of that is data? And how do you decide how much to pay for a certain piece of content?
Lots of questions, very interesting ones together. So, I'm actually going to lean on something that Ted says very well. I don't have a better line, so I'm going to use his line. So he says gut, data, gut.
Okay.
Content is always a journey of starting with gut and ending with gut. And in between, you use the data to help inform your decisions better. For instance, crime is a very fast moving. Budgets are concerned. The way I like to say it is, and the way I have these conversations with my team also, is that the size of audience should dictate the size of the budget. When you have larger audience sizes, that an idea talks to, then you have the ability to make them commercially viable also.
When we speak about content, Netflix has been viewed as, a more urban sort of platform. What proportion of your subscriber base comes from the metros? How much of that comes from the non-metros? And how is that mix changing?
I think we don't slice and dice it as metro and non-metro. We look at it content first.
Okay.
So if you're seeing a film like Suryavanshi on the service, you're seeing RRR on the service, Gangubai on the service, Darlings, you can tell, and like, we all know India is a major film viewing country. So when you see such commercial blockbusters, coming on the service and doing well on the service, you get an idea that the watching of those films would be beyond the metros.
Okay.
And the audience that comes in then consumes your series, it consumes your docus also, it consumes international content in dubbed languages. So, for us, it's really important to program for the broadest set of audience, and that's how we look at it.
Any regrets on content that you may have passed upon and that was successful on a competitive platform?
I don't think there's any point in regretting. I think every project has its destiny. I think we are very happy with our choices. We are really looking forward to our slate in 2023. We've announced, in fact, a lot of the slate. I hope you like the trailers. And so we are very excited about what, the next few months look like.
The clamor for the word boycott has increased so much when it comes to films. How mindful are you guys of the possibility of something like that happening in the content that you guys produce?
I think the boycott wave is so unpredictable that
Yeah.
you can't plan for it. You really can't plan for it. If we start programming content thinking like that, I don't think we'll be able to tell stories. So we don't, at all look at those kind of things.
Amazon, Hotstar, Voot, and Sony Live.
You're
Which
missing Z.
Okay, Z5 and add MX Player as well if you want to. What are the shows of these that you like?
I may not be able to rattle off for all the services, but I mean, I've loved Family Man on Amazon. I'm partial to Asur on Voot because we created that before.
You were at Viacom before.
Yes, yes. And then on Disney, I have liked, of course, we've all watched Coffee with Karan. I can't remember for all actually, but
Your team is new, despite Netflix being in India for 6 years. What is it that you've learnt as a company in the last 6 years in India? What in the last 3 years has changed for Netflix? What stays the same?
wow, big question. I think what we've learnt is to cater to many different tastes in the country. As an audience, India has to have some of the most nuanced tastes from most other countries or regions across the world. We love our entertainment with a lot of convenience on the go. So I think having those mobile plans, etc., have really worked for us. And also, I think the fact that we love our films is something which no one can take away from us. Global viewing of Indian films has increased, global, and I mean global viewing, not just Indian viewing, by 50% from last year to this year. This new team that has come together, their goal is to really find the most defining series, for India in a multi-season format. We are going to keep working so that we really become the service of choice for the country.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Monika. This
Thank
was a
you,
pleasure.
Mangalam.
Welcome back. We've been talking about content platforms, etc. But let's talk about content creators. And I have with me Nikkhil Advani. I mean, who doesn't know Nikkhil Advani? Nikhil, you've been around for what, 25 years now, over 25 years. You've seen it all. You know, the first wave of multiplex cinema, you've seen single screens and now the OTT platforms constantly churning content out. What, according to you, has been the biggest change in the way content is perceived as good or bad?
Audiences.
What has changed in that?
Audience perception, audience taste, opening up of the internet, social media. Our competition is not, my competition is no longer my peers, my contemporaries, my friends who are making films or content. It's the world, everything. And so audiences are constantly challenging you to make things more, whether it's real, bigger, visually more appealing, scale, everything.
Yeah, so your competition is not just your peers, your competition is the attention of the audience, which is being taken away by so many distractions, etc. So as producers, then what do you do in specific to keep in times or keep in step with the times that there are? I mean, what are the tools that you deploy?
See, I don't know what other producers do, but at MA Entertainment, what we like to constantly think about is disruption. I think that has been a big mantra as far as what we have seen. Audiences where nobody would have made a film like D-Day. We made a film like D-Day.
I love that film, by the way. I have to
Thank
tell
you
you
so
that.
much. So yeah, but that same film, I went to every single studio to pitch the film to every single studio. Nobody wanted to do it. I had to sell my house in Alibag so I could make the film. I made the film, and then suddenly everybody wanted to make D-Day Part 2. Everybody wanted to make D-Day Part 2. So disruption, like what I was saying. I think that whenever in the industry per se, anybody has tried to do something which is off the beaten track, you'll be surprised it has worked. You know, people like to say Yash Chopra is king of romance and king of love stories, etc., etc. But see his earlier films, right? I mean, of course there was Daag and there was Kabhi Kabhi, but there was Diwar, there was Trishul, there was Kalapathar, there was, so he's always been disrupting. He has always been disrupting. Lagan was a disruptor. Yes.
Like D-Day, you said until it became successful, no one wanted to touch it. Thereafter, everyone wanted to do similar stuff. Was that the trap that you, so to say, fell into immediately after the success of Kal Ho Na Ho, and then it took you a while to find your own before D-Day?
I think that yes, I think that I fell into the trap of wanting to better Kal Ho Na Ho, wanting to prove to everybody that I could make films without Karan Johar. You know, so there was an arrogance, there was a dishonesty, there was not a real how do I put it? The film was not as important as what I wanted to tell the world, right? And that actually is not how you should be making films. You should just be telling stories. And so therefore you had Salam Ishq, which was which did not need 6 love stories. It could have been done with 4 love stories. It could have been a better film. You had Chandni Chowk to China, because I wanted after the flop of Salam Ishq, I wanted to basically prove that I'm still relevant.
Right.
That also, so that's not the reason why you should be making films, right? Eventually, what happened is that nobody wanted to work with me. I said, listen, it set me free somewhat, and that's the reason I made a D-Day, because that's actually what I've always wanted to do.
Do different OTT apps have ideas as to this is the content that they want to push, or if it's just good content, they will take it irrespective of the channel, the OTT that you're talking about?
Of course they do, and I think they also look at, from a brand perspective, they look at their slate as in, okay, we've got 4 shows which are slice of life, comedies, edgy, 2 of just women, 10 crime thrillers, and really dark, edgy kind of stuff. So yeah, they look at this, and then they have their marquees, right? I think that what we at MA we pride ourselves on is that being able to stretch the rupee.
How mindful are you of the contents of the story that you're going to say, and the impact that it may later have on the socio-cultural situation that we're in right now, because there is a serious boycott culture, etc.
We are very clear that this is what we are allowed to say and what we will stretch, right? And we work within those parameters. Also, we work very closely with the standards and practices S&P teams of our platforms and our studios, right? And whenever they see, the thing is that we are not here to provoke.
Exactly.
And I don't think that we want to be provocative at all. And I'll be very honest with you, at one point we felt that as a director, I felt that my creativity is being curbed. And I was very adamant, and I said, listen, I don't care. This is freedom, this country needs freedom of expression. I'm here, it's my right to freedom of expression, etc., etc. And then when they sat down and explained to me that people might get offended by certain things, because they don't understand the nuance with which possibly that you are approaching a character, a storyline, a layered scene, etc., etc. So I thought about it, and very interestingly, somebody told me that samajhdar ke liye ishara kafi hai.
A lot of the films that are being churned out are actually not doing the numbers. Is it because of the quality of the films, or is it because of the post-pandemic behavior where people don't want to go to theatres?
It's both. Audiences change. Audiences have perception has changed. Actually, 3 things. Audiences perceptions have changed. They, like I said, they are watching content now. They are not only watching Hindi content.
Yeah.
The person who should watch Hindi films has not watching Hindi content, because we ran out of Hindi content during the pandemic and during lockdown. So they started watching regional cinema, and they said, wow, this is connecting, this is great. Then you have the rest of the world. So the audience content is changing, number 1. Number 2, and very importantly, Hindi cinema and the Hindi film industry stopped making good films. Right? We are also part of it. Right? We also, somewhere or the other, were not pushing the boundaries in terms of content, and now we've corrected that. And I think the Hindi film industry has corrected that. And number 3, most importantly, it's very expensive to go to the theatre. Post the pandemic and post the lockdown, it has become very difficult for a family, middle class family, to basically turn around and say, hey, picture ke liye chalte hain.
Yes.
They have to think about it. They have to think about, okay, this is a special occasion. I'm willing to spend upwards of 2,000 to 3,000 rupees to go and watch the film, which I can wait for 6 weeks, right? It will come into the theatres. Which I'm not getting guaranteed that it has going to give me value for money. So the restaurants are full, the bars are full, the shopping malls are full, the cinema halls are empty, because there is no guarantee for value for money. The minute you can guarantee value for money, Brahmastra,
Yes.
People flock to the theatres.
What would be your, thesis on what kind of content will go in each of these places? Will it be, OTT only content for certain, a certain sensibility of content will be OTT only, a certain sensibility will be movies only, a certain sensibility will be cell phone only?
Yeah, so I think that the so-called blurred lines between cinema, OTT, middle of the road cinema, big ticket films, those blurred lines will now become more and more, how do I put it?
Sharper.
Defined.
Yes.
Very well defined. I think that the youth will always want to, run to the cinemas, bunk college, go and watch their favorite stars, heroes, the younger Lord Varun and Ranveer and Siddharth Malhotra, and I think that the older cinema goers, the ones who can afford to have a bouquet of streaming on their smart televisions. I mean, they don't care, right? Whether it is Amazon, they are on auto pay. It's just they don't, and they'll wait, and then there'll be the big ticket guys, right? Where everybody will be going for the event kind of stuff, right? So I think that those lines will get more and more defined now.
That was rather insightful. Thank you so much, Nikhil.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.